G'day guys and welcome back to RestoHub. In this episode, I'm more exhausted than I was last time. Stick around. Alright, and we're back for another one. You might recall in the last episode, I was fabricating the dump pipe. So in this one, we are continuing on and moving on to the wastegate exhaust. So you can see the wastegate just tucked down there. The challenging part with this wastegate exhaust is really there's not much room under there. And I do need to snake it from down there between the engine and engine mount and then sort of tuck it back that way and merge into the dump pipe down below there. So yeah, before I get to work, I do need to remove the front of the car. So basically the intercooler pipes, and one other section I do need to change on the dump pipe is the bottom leg down there. I need to trim off about 100 mil and then put a 5-degree bend and bring it away from the firewall. Alright, so I've unbolted everything off the car, and as you can see, this is where the wastegate is. It is oriented incorrectly. I do need to rotate it more towards the engine, but as you can see, space is at a premium. And what I was thinking initially was basically going through that gap there and then meeting the dump pipe on the other side. Or the other option is to snake it between the pipes and the engine. Again, space is very tight there, but yeah, I'm going to work out which way I'm going, and yeah, we'll start getting to work. So I think I might have to go between the pipes and the engine. So yeah. That might be a real tight angle to get. Alright, well, you can see what I'm dealing with. Yeah, I'm gonna figure out a plan of attack probably for the next 20-30 minutes, just sitting here studying, analysing, or just working out what the hell I'm going to do, and then bring you guys back a bit later on when I know what that might look like. Alright, I'm back after spending 20-30 minutes just having a think and feeding pipe through certain areas, you know, between the engine and the pipes, and of course the engine and engine mount. And I think I'm probably going to go through the engine and pipes. It's very tight in there, but I can squeeze a 50 mil pipe through. I think the problem I'm going to have is because it's so tight in there, I won't be able to feed a V-band through either way. It actually fouls, and there's absolutely no way the V-band will come through. And of course, this will be a V-band connection. So that's problem number one I need to deal with. And the other problem will be I've got a flex section, and also that will not fit through. So it might have to be one of these things where I actually make and it becomes a permanent fixture to the car. And what I mean by that is to take it off or on, we basically need to unbolt the pipes. Not ideal, but I think, you know, when you're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place, there's not much you can do, right? So I'm going to start by cutting some pie cuts and try to make a very tight radius, almost like like a 120 degree sort of almost a U coming up, and put me in a position where I'm facing towards the back of the car. And of course I might rotate this a little more, but there's a few things to contend with. I've got the oil drain below there, so I need to make sure I'm clearing that, and the water pump as well, which will be here. And I actually did bolt it up, and I thought to myself, oof, that looks pretty close to the intercooler piping, and guess what, it is, but it's not fouling. I will need to sort of knock 15-20 mil off the water pump outlet, and then just sort of re-weld it back on. Shouldn't be a problem, but keeping a spare in stock if I ever do something like a drag challenge, I will make 1 or 2 spares. You never know what happens on the road, right? But anyway, that's a story for another day. All right, back for another day. I've had a bit of a think about the plan I outlaid to you guys, and I want you to take that with a small grain of salt. Still will be running the wastegate pipe between the engine and the exhaust manifold. However, I'm going to be running a slip coupling, which is going to allow me to tie the 2 halves together and yeah, be able to feed the pipe in without having to disassemble half the engine bay to remove it in future. Initially didn't want to run one of these just due to the possibility of it leaking down track, but I'm just going to have to run with that risk and roll with it. All right, let's get back to work. I've actually got a 90-degree Mandrel bend here, and I thought I'd see if it'll fit. It absolutely doesn't. It's very tight, so I do need to go, unfortunately, towards pie cuts, which I didn't want to do, but it is what it is. But I thought I'd show you guys something. How good's that look? Would make things so much easier. But we need to be legal, right? So yeah, let's get to cutting some pies. All right, so as you saw, I cut up quite a few pieces of pie, gave them a linish, gave them a bevel, and also deburred on the inside, so they're very nice, if you guys can see that. Very tight radius. So basically what I'm trying to do now is fabricate with masking tape, and who recalls what I said about masking tape in the last episode? I'll put a link up in the top corner and you can go and catch up on the dump pipe fabrication. Anyway, plan is to make a nice tight radius bend here and then bring it up to the car and see how it looks. I think I said before, pie cuts frustrate me a little bit, or I don't like them too much. I actually do like them. What I don't like about them is the amount of prep work that actually goes into making these things. You know, you buy an off-the-shelf Mandrel bend and it's bent up. You don't have to sit there cutting it, linishing it, etc, etc. But as you can see, that's a very tight radius bend, and I'm hoping it fits the bill. Looks like I've sort of messed up. I've got a thick piece here, which wasn't off cut. I mean, it's ready to use, but I'm going to get rid of that because these thinner pieces make the radius a bit tighter. While I'm in a bit of a talking mood, I've tried a few different things on some of my last videos, and really keen to get your feedback on what resonates well with you, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see more of. I do enjoy making videos. It does slow me down a little bit, of course, focusing on the camera, etc. But it is a passion. So if I can improve and deliver better videos to you guys, I'd love for you to leave a comment below and let me know, again, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see more of, and things like that. Yeah, would really appreciate it, and it'd mean a lot if you can do that for me. So just want to show you guys the difference with a pie cut 90 and a Mandrel bend 90. So this has obviously had the leg cut off, but I'm hoping you can see the difference. It's night and day, and as you can see, it's a really tight radius. So that's the reason I do this, and all guys that fabricate do use pie cuts. It just helps get a really tight transition where you need it. Ideally, I would have been using this just for the sake of saving time, but space is at a premium, as you guys know, and yeah, need to mess around with pie cuts. All right, let's see how this looks on the car. This is super tight. So I mean, it fits there, and I can snake it between the engine and engine mount, but I think getting this thing in and out is going to be a challenge. So maybe the first piece of pie I might make a bit smaller, and maybe even the second one, and see where we're at. It's close, but not close enough. Need clearance. All right, let's get back to work. All right, I spent a bit of time mucking around with some pie cuts and getting the angle what I feel is pretty close to where it needs to be. Of course, coming off the wastegate, and yeah, so as you can see, it's all taped together. And now that I'm rotating it around, you can probably get an idea of the complex angle I've had to make. So what I'm going to do now is give this a quick wipe down with acetone to get rid of all the Sharpie marks that might confuse me a little bit. I'll then make some alignment marks along here, and I'm actually going to tack together a lot of these pies, and I'll probably just retape it back to the V-band flange and then put it back on the car and see how it looks. And if we're pretty close, I'll then probably go ahead and tack this small straight piece on, and then from there will be probably a 45-degree Mandrel bend, which will snake behind the manifold pipes. Alright, so we've got 10 pieces of pie. So they've already been cleaned up on the linear shaft. Don't have to worry about that. The edges are all clean. It's just making sure that there's no grease or excess Sharpie marks. I obviously do need the orientation marks kept where they are, but everything else can be cleaned off. And I'll do my best to not take off any of these orientation marks. We'll see how we go. Just thinking, this actually might be a good opportunity for me to plug in my foot pedal and give it a test. We'll see how we go. So I do have the foot pedal set up, and it is a little bit easier. I just need to get used to how much to give it. It is a Barra I'm building, so it's going to be full throttle, right? all tacked together. I did make one little mess up and blow a small hole there, but again, that was early in the piece when I think it was the second or third tack weld with the foot pedal. So yeah, just learning, I guess, as I'm going with the foot pedal now. But yeah, I think as I got towards the top, I don't know if you guys could hear me smashing the pedal down and then letting it off super quick. So yeah, it was pretty much controlled towards the end, but I'm happy with it. You know, again, this is not going to be seen by absolutely anyone anyway, apart from you guys. So yeah, let's see how it looks. Actually, before I do that, I might clean up the part a little bit, get rid of all the Sharpie marks, and make it look nice and presentable. So what I might do is I might tape the V-band to this tack together, whatever we're going to call it. It's complex U shape, and then of course tape this little straight piece on there as well, and present it to the car and see how it looks. Alright guys, so this is where we're at. As you can see, that piece I just made snakes from the wastegate up, and it's pointing towards the back of the car. And I've actually got a 45-degree mandrel bend just sitting in place. As you can see, it does pop out roughly where I need it to be, and the angle's pretty good. I'm not fully convinced just yet, but I'm fairly close with making a call and just running with this. But before I do anything, what I actually need to do is trim that dump pipe down. As you might recall from the last episode, I did say I need to take about 150 mil off the leg and kink it back about 10-ish degrees, maybe 15, just so the departure angle's a little bit better under the car. All right, let's cut that down first and then we'll continue. Alright, so you see me cut this dump pipe down about 4.5-ish inches, maybe a bit more. And I've got a 15-degree mandrel bend, which I've sort of knocked the legs off. And I'm going to give it 2 tacks. And hopefully it lands up where I think it should land based on my mock-up in the car. So only 2 tacks, and then if it's good, I'll give it a couple more later on. She's looking a little bit different compared to the last episode. If you missed it, click that link above. Oh no. I've just done something a little bit frustrating, and I actually wiped off the witness marks for the orientation. So I'm going to tack this together, and then I'm going to re-bolt this on the car, find out the position of this again, and then remark it, take it off the car, and tack it all together. Gonna love those moments. So this is the foot pedal I was talking about earlier. So yeah, it's always nice to get a new tool. For those that watched the last video, you'd probably notice the difference in the leg with the dump pipe. It does sort of snake out a bit, just to clear the steering box, and of course to set me up in a position where it shoots through to the underbody. And one piece that is left for the dump is this little piece here. For now, I'm going to leave this. I've got enough leg there to actually continue back on the wastegate merge section, and then I'll get that sorted and then weld this out. So a few things to do, but yeah, it's coming along very nicely. Alright guys, I've done quite a bit of work off camera with this wastegate exhaust pipe, and as you can see, there's a bit to it. So I showed you me tacking this together off the car, and as you can see, it's some pretty complex curves right there, and you can probably just see the clamp there as well. Let's get under the car and I'll show you what it looks like from under there. So as you can see, it exits out the back of the engine mount, and the angle is almost aligned with the dump pipe as well. So what I need to do now is actually make a merge point here. So like a 15-ish, maybe 20-degree connection off the dump pipe, and it'll tie in with the wastegate pipe. I'll probably have a V-band around here somewhere that allows me to bolt the wastegate pipe into the dump pipe. So yeah, quite a bit of work's gone into this already, and it has tested me a little bit given the tight clearance. But yeah, it's coming together nicely, and yeah, looking forward to how it's going to turn out. Alright, so yeah, I'll get on to making the merge piece now, and then I'll fully weld out the dump pipe, because that's probably going to move around, and then I can finally finish welding the wastegate exhaust up to where it's at, up to the bellows, and then of course make the final merge piece. So I've got a 15-degree mandrel bend piece, and I've gone to blocklayer.com and made a template to help me put a notch in this pipe. So this is going to form the first part of the wastegate merge. So imagine my hand is the dump pipe. This will effectively merge into the dump pipe, and we'll probably have a V-band flange welded on somewhere around here, which will then tie into the remainder of the wastegate exhaust system. So I could have used a straight bit of pipe, but I think using this 15-degree mandrel bend is also going to help me take this pipe away from the dump pipe naturally and give me some more room to, of course, weld in that V-band later on. So step one, let's get this thing notched, and I've got a 4-inch test pipe which I'll present this up to later on and see how it all sort of looks. Alright, let's get to work. So for a quick cleanup, it still needs a bit more work. You can probably see that's pretty close. Pretty happy with that. Again, it still needs some more fine detail work, which I'll do off camera. Yeah, it's pretty close for now. Alright, so I've got this piece cut down, cleaned up, and ready to go. I do have the V-band flange taped on, and that's roughly where it's going to sit on the dump pipe. And as you can see, that pipe up there, that's what we need to connect to. So it's going to be a bit of fun with pie cuts again, but I think I can make this work. So what I might do is actually tape this little merge section onto the dump pipe and get it secure, and then muck around with some pie pieces and see if we can get the angle pretty close. And if it works out, I'll then go ahead and make this merge section permanent on the dump pipe, and yeah, come back and finalize this wastegate exit. Well, it fits, just. I don't think I could slide a cable tie through there, it's that tight. And once I fully weld this thing, it's going to move. So in the next episode, I'm going to find out whether I just built myself a very expensive paperweight. If you're enjoying this madness, please go ahead and hit that like button. It absolutely helps my channel grow, and you'd be doing me a solid. If you're not subscribed, please go ahead and do so, and every time I post up a new video, you'll be notified. If you've got any questions, comments, love to hear them, drop them in the comments below. Alright, let's leave it there. See you on the next one.